Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of FIGANOMICS. One of your hosts around here, Sean the Right Way, and joining me tonight, we've got the man himself, Fritz from Fritz's Bricks.
What is up, everybody?
And tonight we welcome our very special guest. He is the former director of the Lego VIP and Insider program. We've got Jason Whiting here on the broadcast, and he's already said it. Look, he might not be able to answer everything, but we're going to try, guys. We're going to ask him all the burning questions of why did this happen here? Why didn't this happen there? It's going to be fantastic, and we're looking forward to having a lot of fun tonight. Again, welcome to FIGANOMICS. Hope you guys all enjoyed Skeleton Crew. Keep the spoilers to a minimum.
Yeah,
please. Okay, we got working people here. All right, thank you. All right. Tuesday, January 7th, settling into the new year. Fritz, how's your week been so far, bud?
It's been crazy. I've been doing whatnot shows every day until I'm doing whatnot shows every day till the kid's born. So I've just been like, we've even done 2 back-to-back shows. I mean, my garage is filled with Lego, and I need to stop buying Lego. Even Riley's like, it's a entire.
You're tossing the occasional diaper into those orders too, right? I mean, that's happening.
We actually had a crazy show the other day where we had 2 shows back to back where people had tipped $700. The first show was like $680. The second show was
twice
$700. Yeah, twice. Completely separate people too. And then someone had bought. I put these like little like Riley treats in the buy it now for people.
Yeah.
And people buy them to. I get Riley like a coffee, or I get her flower, like a bouquet of flowers or something like that. Where like she's got a lot of cravings right now, so we use it towards cravings, just like a little fun thing.
Riley treats, I like it.
And someone bought 100 of them. They're $15 a piece.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it was a little insane.
That's beautiful, man.
So
good. So you hit your stroller goal. You hit all your.
We hit the stroller goal. Actually, crazy thing is,
This was like a Ferrari
for us. Someone ordered the stroller for us, and the stroller got canceled. So I'm gonna go buy the stroller probably tonight, actually.
Oh, okay. Gotta have one of those.
We hit the goal.
Congrats.
The baby's coming somewhere between the 24th and the 1st. So.
That's awesome, dude.
It's soon.
That is awesome. And Jason, how's the first 6-7 days of the new year been for you, sir?
Uneventful. It's been good, right? So no big problems happening, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's a win.
It's been good. It's been good.
Now I've been eyeing up the collection. I'm sure the boys at home are eyeing it up too. You got some good stuff there. Still in the process of unpacking. Had a big move recently.
Yeah. So we moved from Europe. Well, it wasn't too recently. We moved back in Feb, but moved into the new house back in July, and then had to move stuff that had been in storage for about 10 years. So I had to bring it all out here. So from the East Coast. So unpacking a lot of boxes, going through all of our sets and things, just trying to figure out what we want to build, where we're going to build it, and what I want to keep, what I want to store, things like that. So
that's like the hardest part, where to put it.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, she's a huge modular fan, so you know how much room those can take up, and I think we have every single modular except for the first 2. So, that's a full wall in the house.
See, guys, he's just like us. He has every other modular except the first 2.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't even get hooked up with that. Yeah, so we appreciate you coming on. You became buds with Fritz over some stuff you guys were working on, so we appreciate Fritz mentioning the show. FIGANOMICS, we just kind of break down dollars and cents of Lego, try to go a little bit deeper into, I guess it started, Fritz, just really about figs, but we just end up talking about retail and sort of how it works and whatever sales data we have available. Like Jason, you've seen it. Amazon is actually showing sales results. I'm curious how it feels about that, because I know a lot of companies don't want that out there. But it's just been a good tool to kind of chop it up around, like, because everybody Lego releases information, for example, on like different themes that are selling through
Yep.
well. And obviously a lot of those reports are probably like globally, but it is interesting that the average Joe can just look on Amazon and say, well, let's see the last 30 days. Oh my God, Botanicals is going absolutely crazy. Everybody's over here like Star Wars is number one. It's like, oh, well, if you look at
You'd be surprised.
I was always surprised, even when I joined the company, that they put out their financial reports. And it's a private company.
They don't
need to do that,
Yeah.
right? And that's a level of transparency you don't see in most private companies. So I always thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah. So I agree, and I mean, it's so they do share quite a bit, and if you're a little bit of a sleuth, they leave enough breadcrumbs, you can kind of piece together what's going on, even from a fan perspective. So yeah, so again, sincerely appreciate your time. Just to kick it off, you said stuff from 10 years ago, so it sounds like it was probably a little bit before your journey over to Europe. Tell us about your sort of Lego history that got you to the point where you started working with the company.
Sure. So I like to think I have kind of like 4 phases of my career. I started off 7 years in retail. Everything from working the front lines to commission sales to customer service, etc., including some management. And then from there, I worked for an advertising agency. Spent 7 years in there doing meeting and events production, interactive media, things like that. Then I was head of marketing for a small telecom in Connecticut, and I had a friend who had started working at Lego in Enfield and grew up in Connecticut. So you always knew Lego headquarters for the US was in Enfield. I remember going there when I was a kid for like a field trip. So she was working there, and she's like, why don't you just get a job here? And I was like, oh, is it that easy? So I applied for events production job, and I thought I had the right qualifications for that. And they had hired somebody else who was already kind of doing that as a side gig. And then another job popped up, and it was retail special projects, project manager, and running the mobile retail business at those events. Like, okay, that kind of brings everything full circle between management, projects, innovation, things like that.
Wireless, mobile, all that stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of it was around, how do we make the experience better in our stores? How do we streamline some of our processes in mobile event space, things like that. So applied for that, got that job. Really, really liked it. Did that for about a year and a half, and then I took a maternity cover as a brand manager. And I managed the reintroductions of the 4 pirate SKUs. And that was really fun. I got to see kind of like timelines and how new products get developed and how we bring things to market and working with retailers and things like that. From there, I did another maternity cover where I was the head of ecom for the US. And then I got hired away to be the permanent head of ecom for Europe. So I moved to Munich. Me and my wife, she left her job. We sold the house, packed everything up, and that's when everything went into storage. Whatever we weren't bringing with us, because we had no idea, what type of place we were going to live in once we got to Munich. Did that job for a while. They relocated us to London about a year and a half into that. And then in 2018, there was a reorg in the company. I was asked to take over VIP and said, hey, we've had this thing for 10 years. It hasn't changed since day one. We want it to be something better. What can we do with it? And I did that job up until the reintroduction of VIP, the introduction of insiders, and then that was all the way up until the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. And we said, hey, time to go back to the US.
Gotcha. So, no, that's awesome. Thanks for taking us through that. So did you grow up collecting as well?
Honestly, no. I mean, I used to build a little bit here and there. My cousin, he had more toys than I did.
Yeah.
Lego's an expensive hobby, and we didn't have a whole lot of money. But I really did enjoy it, and I knew it was a fun company I would want to work for. I will say the first job out of college I applied for was on the Lego games team. And they said, come back when you have more experience. So about 20 years later, I came back with more experience. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it really wasn't until later on. So somewhere around 2011, a friend of mine gave me a Imperial shuttle, and I built that shuttle, which is a horrible build. Um, it's very repetitive, no numbers, um, but it really got me back into it. I was like fan of Star Wars, got back into building, and then just went crazy on collecting. And that's when my friend said, "Hey, you should go work at Lego."
That's awesome. Good timing for all that, and I'm sure along the way you've been able to pick up some gems as we're seeing there, and you got your stack up over your years there. Fritz, question for Jason, sir.
All right, sorry, I was actually, so what I did, just put it in the chat for everyone. I said people can put down their questions, and I'm going to take them down for us so we can answer them throughout the show or at the end of the show or whatever. But I've got like 5 or 6 questions already so far from some
Well,
of the
I want to
people.
get one thing, Fritz, not to interrupt, because I want to just define something here, Jason. Did you also handle GWPs at all? Because there's a lot coming from that, and I don't know where the lines kind of cross there.
No. So the promotions team will handle GWPs. We would be, so anything that's a reward, so sits in the reward center and things like that, those we would handle. When it comes to actual GWPs, a lot of it I can talk about some of the things that had happened with them, but it's not something that our team would develop. That would come out of our promotions team.
Gotcha. Was there ever, I guess, one more thing on that topic? Was there ever anything that was like, is everything developed start to finish for one program or the other, or was there one that, like, because I feel like in my time I've seen one that was, maybe it was rumored to be a GWP and it moved over to rewards. Has anything ever shifted in your experience?
Sometimes things will happen, and we will, if there's delays and it doesn't hit a promotional period or something like that, we'll talk about, hey, do we want to make this into a reward? Keep moving the stock. There's, I think you'll have challenges where if you're trying to make a GWP that hits a specific launch or something like that, right? And there's a delay in it, whether it's a manufacturing delay or quality checks or something else. Sometimes what we would do is say, okay, does this make more sense as a reward, because you don't want to necessarily alienate the people who bought it on day 1.
Gotcha.
And then all of a sudden give it to the people day 30.
Because they'll say you did it on purpose to get people to buy a second one, right?
Yeah. Or they'll just be like, oh, you don't care about our fans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just care about this or that. And it's usually like, the company is filled with a bunch of people who love Lego. Right? They love the product, they love the company, they love the fans. Like, you rarely get somebody who comes in and is just like, oh, I don't care about this at all. It's a cool job.
Just straight business.
Right? Yeah. It doesn't
happen.
Somebody's got some type of passion in there. And if they don't, they build a passion for it.
Gotcha.
But people are always trying to do really good stuff. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and I'm sure we'll get some questions around, like, VIP was a perfect example of that, right? Like, when we relaunched it, we knew what we wanted it to be. Then there was what we could make it happen, and then there's the problems that happen behind the scenes. That stymie where you want it to be, and then you just got to work into your process and the corporate engine.
There's a lot of like sort of
marketing, etc. Yeah,
settlements, right? Settle out of court. Like, we wanted this, couldn't because of X, Y, and Z, but at least we got.
We'll give you this.
We got as close as we could. Fritz, sorry to jump in there. I just wanted before the guys got too fired up about G-dubs with the line of questioning. I just wanted to make, because it's a very GWP heavy audience. So
yeah,
Fritz, if you have one, if you want to get rolling, sir.
So I have a question. You kind of touched topic of, like, how they put something out there that's exclusive and they wouldn't want to re-release that same thing 30 days or later or so, right? What do you think? Were you there and when they came out with the Venator and then they came out with a microfighter with the same P2 Rex?
So those are the perfect questions. I have no view on, right? So that'd be in the product development side and decisions that they're making on that. I can tell you that, like, one of the questions
going on there when that happened.
Yeah. And one of the questions that always comes up is like, well, why are you making another X-Wing? Why are you making another TIE fighter? Why isn't another speeder? Like, and you talk about these things like, why is, like, I don't know that specific reasoning there, but I can tell you, like, why you make another TIE fighter is because kids get into Lego, they get into Star Wars, and they want a TIE fighter, right?
Right.
And
It's iconic.
you're not going to cancel it just because you had one before. And I would say, like, there might be a reason like that. Like, I don't know what it is, but it might be like, hey, kids love this figure. Kids love this character. Why aren't we giving the kids this character? Right.
There you go.
And that's where you get into microfighters, right? Like, a family's not going to necessarily buy the biggest set for their 10-year-old who's absolutely in love with Lego and Star Wars. They'll buy a microfighter for. And I think that's the thing we also have to remember is this is a kid's product too.
Yeah.
I'm a fan too.
True.
It's a kid's product too.
It's an A-full show, sir. No, we get it. We try hard to look at it through that lens, but I think I'm on here all the time. So Jason, similar age. I'm an OT head. I don't know where you stand in this whole thing, but I mean, I like it all, love it all. But lean towards OT,
Same.
and I get beat up by the boys. 20s, 30s, 40. We have a pretty wide range of viewers here, and they're always like, we need more clone stuff. Why are they making another X-Wing? And you're exactly right. Like when I came in, the X-Wing was already retired, the previous one, right? And it was whatever it is, $150. And I'm like, geez, that's steep. Now I'm like, that sounds reasonable. But at the time, I'm like, that's pretty stiff. And then I was pleased to hear, I think in 2021, it was $60 or whatever. I'm like, that's more like it. And so I think that, thank you for answering that, and how it's kind of chopped up is like, they've got to have an X-Wing, Falcon, and a TIE fighter in and around shelves in some color or variant or format at all times, because we all forget that it's somebody's first set. It's somebody's first day on the job, and you got to play the hits. I always talk about that. So,
I mean, I've kept a bunch of stuff that I know my nephew is going to want, right? Like I gave him a Death Star. He's going to want a Millennium Falcon. He's going to want a TIE fighter. He's getting into the Clone Wars stuff now. So, and I'm like, he's 4 years old, right? So, and give it another couple of years, and there'll be another 4-year-old who's doing the exact same thing. So, just need to make sure we have stuff for everybody.
no.
What year did you start working at Lego?
2012.
2012. All right. Just making sure.
You'll see a lot of my stuff. It comes from starts at the 2011 and 2012 release dates.
All right. I've got some questions from the people here.
Are they VIP insider questions?
There's a lot of questions.
And listen, I'll share as much as I can in general too, right? Yeah. So I'm not under an NDA, but I'm also, there's stuff I won't talk about specifically all just because I have a lot of respect for the company, but I can talk to quite a few different things that happen.
All right, here we go. We're gonna shoot some Spitfire questions here.
All right.
There's quite a bit. I think I've got 25. All right, first one.
25?
First one, Terminator. Terminator 98. Why doesn't Lego have an app yet?
Ooh. Is that a VIP question?
Because there's a million apps. Yeah. I mean, like a shopping app, or
it is a little weird that they don't have a shopping app that the Lego.com isn't made into a shopping app. It is
maybe.
Yeah, and I'll give a kind of my perspective. I don't know where they stand with that, but I've always had this,
Jason.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, when I was in econ, one of the things that we talked about was like, do we want a shopping app? And the thing is, realistically, what were you going to get in the app that you weren't going to get online? Right? Like, what would be the killer feature that would make you download an app and put it on your phone? And this is, this goes back 10 years, right?
No, it's still fair. A lot of Barnes and Noble has one. It's like the people really need that at the ready at all times. You know what I mean?
You're going to need to be online to get it. What's different to going to a mobile ready Lego.com, right? So that was one of the questions.
Gigantic retail presence too.
Yep. And then the other question was like, so you're going to install this app so you can go shopping, but the majority of shoppers are buying once, maybe twice a year, right? They're buying at Christmas or the kid's birthday. That is the majority of people buying Lego sets. So if you think about that, and that's the entire toy industry, right? You get small gifts and rewards throughout but like most people are getting these, like, are shopping for a child when it comes to toys in those two moments in time. So is there a reason to have an app on the device that they're only going to use twice a year? And those were the things that were going through our head back then. Times have changed. People are expecting apps, things like that. So I don't know where they stand now. but it was one of those things. Like if you look at the apps that we have, like the Builder app, well, there's a reason for that to exist out because it doesn't happen online easily. So, and I think that's one of the things you have to think about is, when you're talking about resources and tech resources and people's time and energy, where do you put it? And, back in those days, I was just like, tell me what we're going to make better through an app. And then I'm all for it.
It's fair. Builder, I think if I had to have one or the other, I would take Builder. I've been manual, paper guy, but I think flipping that up on an iPad, dude, that's just ideal,
Yeah.
and I love because everything's got the one angle, and there's times where it's some crazy technic stuff going on where you
gotta see it from that.
You gotta flip her over, see what's going on.
Yep.
Look,
right.
one we're getting a lot of talk, and I think you came in after this, but everybody's saying, and I know a little bit about it, but people want to know about the black VIP card. What happened there? What went right? What went wrong? Everybody's like, talk about the black VIP.
Yeah.
Was there more intended behind it? And
I can definitely talk about it, right?
This is the Star Wars one, yeah.
Yep. So I was heading up ecom, and I was one of the people who worked on the project with the VIP team. I wasn't in VIP at that time, but we had talked about, hey, this idea of the black card, and kind of the hope was, hey, let's put this card out. It's going to be exclusive to, the first people who buy the Millennium Falcon, right? And we all know everybody underestimated how big the Millennium Falcon was going to sell. Like there was bets behind the scenes, and everybody got it wrong. And
over or under? They were way under.
Under. I mean, like, so I'll tell you, I sat in a room where they were saying, hey, we need it to be this number, and I'm like, I think it needs to be 3 times that number. And people were like, no, you're crazy, but we'll go half. We'll go 50% over, or we'll double our number. And then what we realized that our number.
What were the concerns internal?
Biggest set ever, most expensive set ever. Like, where are people going to put it? Like, we had, it was we're reintroducing the Millennium Falcon, right? Like, it wasn't that far. It wasn't not that much time had passed. It wasn't like 20 years passed, right? And then we were just like, it's so expensive. Like, who's going to be able to afford it? Who's going to want to pay this kind of money? Like, do we really, like, we believe in the product, but we're all having a hard time with the number because that number was crazy.
How many man children are out there that'll
yeah. And I'm like,
kids, right? So when
you literally have those conversations, right? I'm sitting there with like 2 of us that are fans. We're like, well, I'm going to buy it. Like, no questions asked, I'm buying it. And we're like, and how many of us are out there? And then we're sitting there going like, well, is there 10,000 of us? 20,000 of us? Is there 100,000 of us? And you're really doing that math. And then, we missed it by like, 5 times, probably something like that. Wow. So the number was, it blew everybody away. Nobody expected it. And even in, all the modeling and all the researchers and the analysts, they just said, like, all of this is coming back saying it'll hit this number. And it was just went crazy.
So now, you made an original production run, and you guys had to like fight to get it to 1.5x on release, or
yeah, on release.
You're saying it probably would have done 5x if you had the inventory?
Probably something like that. Yeah. Wow. And I remember like the factory sending us pictures of just like, boxes lined up because they were just trying to build them as fast as they could and just ship them out because
that's awesome.
We knew, and that's part of the thing, right? It was supposed to be the black card was the people who bought it in the first, like, I think it was like a week or something. And then we said, you know what, we didn't make demand. So we kept the black card. They kept the black card all the way to the end of the year. Anybody who got one in the first 3 months instead of the first week. And part of the thing with black card was, hey, listen, we're going to give people, a bunch of stuff next year, right? Like, we'll give them access to stuff next year. And then I come in at 2018, right after this all happens. And they're like, okay, well, we got this black card thing we need to deal with. And we told everybody we're going to give him everything. What are we giving them? And they had a list of things that they want to have. It was some GWPs and early access and some additional benefits. And the plan was every 2 months to release something. So you get 6 things. And it might, like I said, it might be early access to a set, or double points early before anybody else, or things like that. And they had a whole list of it. And then essentially, like, one by one, and this is what really sucks, right? Is the fans started saying, "Well, why don't I have something today?" Or you said we were going to get something every day of the year, like, and what it came back was like,
What was promised? Yeah, like what was on the bullet
there
points?
will be Star Wars related.
Okay, so there was no specifics.
Things throughout the year.
Everything you're referencing was internal. These are things we could do, but that wasn't put customer facing.
No, the customer facing was we're going to release things for black card holders throughout the year, and it started with like there was going to be a free GWP that was only for black card holders, and
What
then
was it?
It was one of the, can't remember if it was DJ or something like that. It was one of those carded
Shout out to
minifigures.
DJ.
And then we hit the date, and then there was, we couldn't release it for, I don't remember if it was like a license issue or something. There was something that happened,
so that people know when a licensing last minute thing comes up. It's got to be a good amount.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often, but it happens multiple times throughout the year that there's something that happens, right?
Out of the 1,000, we only remember the one or two.
Yeah.
Right.
Something doesn't get delivered on a truck. There's a manufacturing issue. There's a licensing issue. I mean, there's so many things that can stop something from happening, especially in the Lego group. And I'm going to say this, right? Like, the company is very focused on safety, quality, right? Like, those are the biggest things the company worries about, right? If it's got a quality issue, it's going to get trashed. Like you got to stop it, right? Like you can't have it get into the hands of kids and somebody get hurt because no questions asked, boom, stop.
That's done.
If it's got a brand, like, if it's going to impact the brand, doesn't look right. If there's so many like things that are very focused on quality safety that there's probably stuff that gets killed that you would never know about. And most companies, I would say like a Mattel or a Hasbro, might just let it go, right? Like, it's not the best quality. There's probably a little tweak here, but it's not going to be a big deal, right? We might get 1 or 2 complaints.
Got to answer to the investors.
Yeah.
We got to hit this quarter. I mean, there's a lot of pressure with a publicly traded company that.
Yeah, and the family's like, hey, if it's not good, we're not doing it. Like they'll kind of have that attitude, like, we're not going to hurt the company. We're not going to hurt the brand. We're not going to hurt the reputation. We're not going to hurt the people. So,
so with the card
stops, it stops.
So basically, it was like a sort of a failure to launch. There were all these big plans. The card came out,
and then we were chasing it the whole year, right? So, and then you think about it, you have.
I was going to say real quick, just as part of that, like, I just want to make sure I get the story straight. It released, you didn't have enough inventory. So was there blowback that you didn't have enough inventory and people were like, not only wanting the Falcon, but they wanted the black card? So then you opened up the exclusivity of that for an extended period, or?
No, I mean, so the issuing more black cards wasn't an issue for us because we had the plan the team had showed me kind of was scalable. So it was okay, right? Like, there's enough time that goes by that, while they were building the plan, they could say, okay, we got 20,000 black cards, we got 30,000. They can make sure that they meet that demand.
Okay.
So you were definitely getting people upset that the set wasn't available, but everybody who bought the set within in that calendar year, got it, right? They got the black card. I think the thing was, and there was a couple of fans who said, you should have just said, we get a black card. And we're like, yeah, but we felt that wasn't good enough. But they're like, but then you would have just set expectations that we got this cool card, and
that was the thing,
not everything else, right? So everybody had in their mind expectations of what they would get. Would they get half off a Star Wars set? Would they get free Star Wars stuff? Would they get like everybody built in a picture what this black card meant? And then a few of the things that were planned ended up getting canceled. So in the end, I think there was like 4 benefits that ever happened.
Gotcha.
And there's a decision that I have to make as the new leader of the team too. And I'll say this, like, we have this set of really strong vocal fans that are having issues with the black card. And then we got the other 99% of the people who buy Lego that we also have to we have to service. So we were spending 50% of our time trying to chase the black card and going like, okay, where are we going to put our energy? I mean, I hate to say it, like that was my decision. I was like,
Yeah.
let's figure out what we can do and let's make sure we do it for the black card fans. Because I'm a black card holder. I want this stuff too, right? So, but at the same time, we were redeveloping the program, building a new, like working behind the scenes for a new launch of the program, trying to run the existing program for every other non-black card holder. So, and I'll tell you, we're a team of 6.
That's what I was gonna say. How lean is this team? It's pretty lean.
Yeah, and we were a team of 6, and we were shrinking the team at this time too. So like some of the people were moving out for like insights and stuff. So we had to make sure we put our resources where we want, where we could. And there was more for black card holders, but I don't think any black card holder would have ever been happy, right? Because we didn't tell them exactly what it was. So everybody had expectations of what it meant to have a black card.
Gotcha.
And what they expected to get off of it.
It was a cool idea. From execution, things happened. Which
and we talked about like, do we want to do other cards? You know, like, do we want to do a family card? Do we want to do this card? Like, where we really hone in onto what people are interested in, and we kind of like took a step back after the black card and said, okay, let's look at how do we make the whole program more interesting for everybody.
All right.
Versus targeting one group.
I think we've hit the black card pretty dang good.
It was, I mean, it was honestly the most common thing, so I'm glad.
And not surprising either.
I mean, people are like, what happened with that black? The 1%.
Like I said, I'm a card holder, so I mean, I wanted the cool stuff too, right? Like I was like, if we could come up with something really cool, I was going to get it. So it's not that.
If you did a clear card, they would have got all the perks. They're just invisible. Okay, we got some.
All right, next question I've got from
great answer. Yep.
Ostif's Bricks. He had like the first question, by the way. If someone wants to get with the Lego brand with about 5 years of past retail experience, what would be the best way to apply? Does location matter when applying if willing to change locations?
So it depends on the role, right? So if you're looking for a corporate job, you probably want to be where the office is already.
Or corporate.
That's going to be pretty much anything, especially if you're in an entry level role in a company. Nobody's going to move an entry level person, and they also probably won't give you much of an interview unless you have a lot of experience into a role that they're really looking for. They're not going to give you an interview knowing that you're like halfway across the country. You need to be in that space. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, like, I've met so many people who started off contact center or stores, right? Mm-hmm. And I would say probably more contact center because you're already in the corporate environment, and then they move out of there into new roles. But, you know, getting your foot through the door, that's like the first step, right? Like, how do you just go for those two things? Contact center in stores, that's a good way to get in. Otherwise, you know, where's your skill set? Are you sitting in there in, you know, technology, engineer, software engineering, things like that? The spaces where everything's growing, there's probably more opportunities. But like, I just went to, at that time it was jobs.lego.com, and there's a list, and I said, this one looks awesome. This is the one I want to go for. I have the skills, I have the qualifications, and then just trying my best to get noticed by the recruiters. I'll tell you, and I found out who the recruiter was, and I sent a FedEx envelope with my resume and everything straight to them, because anything that comes in the email might get lost. Anything that comes in mail might get looked at and kind of pushed off to the side. But when they have to sign for a FedEx letter, usually open it.
No doubt. That's a smooth move. You hear that, guys? Take initiative. Don't just rely on digital. The old school way works.
All right. Next one I've got from, let's see. It's from Nasty Reefs. Actually, I think we already answered this question. He asked about GWPs.
Yeah.
If you were in charge of releasing. No. Here's an interesting one. Bryce asks, love to know about the Lego Star Wars VIP / minifigure debacle.
Yeah. So to clarify, Jason, the So there's question on why Lego doesn't very often or can't issue like single figure Star Wars minifigures. Is it because
Okay.
there's a licensing conflict with Hasbro with Black Series and that sort of thing, or does Lego not do it fundamentally because minifigures are in fact, in my opinion, set sellers, and they kind of want to reserve that and put them behind the paywall of sets? Some of this gets philosophical, but whatever you want to divulge from what you know about, I don't want to say weaponizing the Lego Star Wars minifigure, or using it as a tool for good and for good old fashioned profitability. But
I mean, that's something, we all love minifigures, right? Like, so it's not that it's not that we're saying like, oh, we need to keep it into a set or something like that. I'd say a lot of the times is there's just things you can't do. Like you have a licensing agreement or stuff like that, and then you're just like, hey, our license covers building sets. So minifigures are not a building set, right? Like minifigures and a figure. So if your license doesn't cover it, maybe that's not something you can do. So I don't know what the debacle specifically is referring to, but I would say like there are probably a myriad of reasons why something doesn't happen, right? It could be a licensing issue, it could be a manufacturing issue, it could be like, hey, you only have room on the assembly line for a set that you're selling. We can't pull that set off the line to do a single GWP. And I would say like things are also had gone a lot more stricter over the years, right? So I think it's pretty well known that like, certain things were manufactured in-house in our own factories, and certain things were manufactured outside of those factories, right? So like books and stuff like that. Everything's kind of come in-house, especially when it comes to bricks. And having those tight controls mean you also have less flexibility. You only have a factory that can only produce so many things. So there's going to always be trade-offs. And I don't know specifically what's being asked about. And if I knew specifically, I may or may not be able to give an answer, but I would say there's a ton of reasons why things don't happen. I had never been in a conversation where somebody said, well, we can't do this because we want to sell it, right? It might be, we can't do this because it's already in next year's plan, or it's already something that's in development as a product. But nobody said, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's not do that so we can make a bunch of money off of somebody else. Like it has always been some other reason why we can't do something.
Did you have sort of full, to a reasonable degree, creative control in what sort of VIP rewards were made it to the store in terms of, in other words, did any of the licensors have any feedback in that? Like, okay, we want to do like, how, I guess, talk to me about the origin of a reward. Would it be like, okay, we got the Spider-Man thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, up art print. Like, how does it kind of?
Yeah. So we as a team would sit down and say, okay, what types of rewards do we want to develop, right? Is it art prints? Is it magnets? Is it brick based? Things like that. So we essentially have our arsenal of types of rewards, and we'd go as far as like, looking for inspiration from others or just coming up with really new ideas and stuff like that. And some of them work, some of them don't, right? So then we say, okay, what's our budget to build out these rewards that make them reasonably cost for our members? Because that's the other thing, right? If something costs the company $20 to make it, and I got to ask you for at least $20 in points, right? Because we can't lose money on these things either. And when you build something outside of that's not a Lego set, things get very expensive because you're using licensed partners and that too.
Much lower volumes too.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's great if I want to have 150,000 of something, I can get the prices down pretty low. But if I'm talking 5,000 pieces because somebody, that's the audience size that will have enough points to get it and might want this reward, that gets a lot more difficult. Then we look at like everything we're doing. what sets are coming out, what themes do we want to support, are there new audiences that are coming into the brand that we really want to support. And then pretty much our team had full creative freedom. Like, we talked to the licensing team, see what we can come up with. We come up with pretty much anything we want and develop it as long as it fit within our budgets and our criteria. I would say the hardest thing is, going back to what I said earlier, is probably getting something that's made of bricks, right? Because that will always be the trade-off, right? Like, if you only have so much room in your factories and you got a set you need to put on shelves, you got somebody yelling, I need a GWP, and you got us over in VIP saying, hey, we need a reward. And
But
the
only
set is
5,000
like,
of them.
we need millions of these, we need thousands of these, and we need hundreds of these.
Yeah.
It's really
Priority.
hard to do a trade-off.
Right.
Here's a question for you.
And we'll always fight for that, though.
To follow up with it, that I think someone asked, but I also was curious about, why did Lego stop making the like Star Wars May 4th exclusive figure poly bags and stuff like that?
That's
Yeah,
what we were kind of covering.
Yeah,
You know?
and I can't speak to the come out of the promotions team. And like I said, it could be those same kind of conversations. It could be license. It could be something in the assortment that's an issue. Could be, manufacturing. Could be costs. There's a million reasons, and that would sit within the promotions team to look at that. But there's never like one person who says, I want this, so we're going to do it, right? There's so many layers in a manufacturing process that why they do something or don't do something or stop something, there's always a reason. And that's kind of where I was going back to what I was saying earlier, Sean, is like, the reason is never
one.
Well, we can make more money if we put it in this set. That is never the reason. The people building the set will say, oh my God, this set will be awesome if we have this thing. And there might be a trade-off there. But you don't just cancel a GWP and say, we're not doing that anymore because we're going to put it in a set and we're just going to try to sell them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because they both sell. Right? A really good set will sell itself. A GWP will help sell a set. Like, more bricks in hand will make people happier. They'll be more attached to the brand. So nobody's sitting there going like, well, I'm going to give this up and make all our fans mad so that they don't want to buy from us anymore because we can sell a couple more over here to somebody who's not a fan. That's never a conversation that happens.
No, this is fascinating stuff, Fritz. This is fantastic, and thank you, Jason, for providing that, because I try to explain. It gets a lot deeper than some of these surface thoughts we have. I mean, I'm in a much smaller organization than you, but getting something across the finish line, even where I'm at, is difficult. There's you could sit here for 4 hours and talk about project management, what starts and stops deals. And we talk a lot of dollars and cents here. That is definitely a big component, but it's a lot of times a component because there's other forces at work there.
I've got a question from CPA over here.
Okay.
And he is asking, let me see. It says, shoot, I just lost it. It was, did you ever work with LAN or community engagement?
Yeah, so we were really close to the community engagement team. So we're often talking to them about what's out there. We didn't work directly with the LAN. We worked through the community engagement team. But then also our team was constantly on a lot of the sites, a lot of the forums, just keeping an eye out for what's going on. And I think a really good example of this one is there was a print of like a retro space print that we did, that one of the LAN groups had found this in like a 1950s I think it was called TV 20th Century TV or something. It was a magazine, and it was an ad for space sets. One of the fans found it, and they were putting it up online. They were like, hey, look at this really cool retro ad that we found in this magazine. And my team saw that and was like, hey, let's go find out if we have the license for that so we can make it into an art print, because it just looks really cool. So we're out there looking at what the fans are doing. But it's also, once again, kind of what I said earlier, a little bit of that balancing act around where do we put all our energy and things like that.
Well, Shoot. All right, here we go. Next question. I hope people are taking this in because there's so much knowledge to take in on this one. Here's shouldn't be too much of a crazy question, but Coop asks, why change the name from VIP to Insiders?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. So we were VIP for a really long time, and then we changed.
I still have a VIP card.
Yeah, same, right? I have my VIP Black card. So, and we had fundamentally changed the VIP program, right, by introducing rewards, and then we started looking at it, going, okay, so what else do we want to be, right? How do we move away from what used to be just a cashback program to a rewards program to a membership program? And who's it for, right? Is it for just our core fans, right? Like the deep fans, like adult fans, very much, right? Like myself, right? So, is it for them, or is it to like nurture everybody, right, and get people more in love with the brand and get them more integrated? And we said, well, actually, we want stuff for kids, we want stuff for moms and dads, and we want stuff for our fans. And we said, if we're going to do this, well, let's look at what does VIP mean to people. And when we looked at that, a lot of people were like, I don't know what a VIP is, right? I buy once a year for my kid. Why am I a VIP? And there was a lot of this question of like, is it a paid program, right? So this is the other thing, is this is a global program, all countries, right? So how people interpret the name VIP is very different in the US than in Europe, right? And so we said, okay, let's look at something that's more close to what we want to be for everybody globally. And then we did a ton of research. It went on for a really long time, and we landed at Insiders. And we felt like that was the closest thing that we wanted people. We wanted people to come into the brand, right? We wanted them to feel like there was something that they got there, whether it was a reward or early information or access to cool features in an app. If we wanted to do that, what we really wanted to do was bring people inside the brand. And that's kind of where that landed. And there was a lot of testing, and that was the one that landed the best.
All right. Now this is the stuff I like to know. What were the runner-up names? Can you share? You gotta share. I mean, just like there's got to be one. It had to be neck and neck, or was it Insiders from the jump?
So it was funny because the major runner-up was Insider. And then somebody's like, God. Oh, it should be Insiders. But
no, I mean, we need some juice. Yeah. Well, what else was there? Like,
there was like things like, do we want to be about connections, and do we want to connect with people, and do we want to be club? And then we're like, well, we already had club, So there was also that thing too, right? Is you get a lot of new people into the company, and you start talking about like all the names, and like Universe was a good one that popped up, and we're like, there's like 5 of us immediately in the room, like just slammed our hand on the table, and we're like, we're not going to be Universe. All of our fans hate Universe. We killed Universe back in the 2000s. Like, we're not going to call it Universe, right? So there was I would say we probably had 500 different names that we went through and just ranked them, tested them, created logos for them to see what would work, and then tested them with users, right? And then you kind of go through this and you go, even if you had your favorites at the beginning, you have to test them with users. And we tested them with casual fans, we tested them with new people, we tested them with people who have been in the brand and in the lands, and we kept landing back at this, like Insiders made the most sense.
Related, this has come up a lot. Talk to us about the Insiders points. He's all the bricks is wanting to know specifically how you got to 20, which I can already guess the answer. But
I can definitely talk about this one. So that was my thing. I sat there and I said, like, we need to give something to people who have sets. Let's come up with a number that you can get something for it, right? Because a lot of these sets are sitting in the hands of kids. Right. And they're the ones who are using the apps and stuff like that. Right. So we said, like, hey, what's a number where we can give something digital, or they can save up and get something better, and also not be at the point where like we have to worry about we've given away so many points that it's gonna destroy the entire program. right? So you're trying to find that balance. At the same time, my team is looking at it going, what can we make that fits within that realm, right? So a kid gets a city set, parent gets a few points for buying a set, kid gets, then they get a few more points for registering the set, and then can they get something that's city related, coloring book, something like that. So kind of that's where we went. What the intent here was never to be like, hey, you double your points that you buy. Like if you buy the set from us, you're going to get the points anyhow. Right? Like this is the little added thing. Something that you can at least get something.
You mean
but
in
you might
addition to
not
the ones you'd get from like .com or the Lego store?
exactly.
It wasn't ever a
exactly.
get rich thing. Let me ask. This one's been burning.
Exactly.
It had to be discussed. I think again, you give people stuff, they complain. I get it. There's been some really funny videos of people scanning for hours and then being like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my God. And I know that's not what you guys designed it for. It's just like a little, it's like a little mint on the pillow. It's not this big, it's not the main entree. How is the decision made? Probably to do with not being able to like kind of, as you put it earlier, you know, like kind of really upset the apple cart in terms of redemptions. I guess the biggest complaint, you probably know where it's headed, is I buy a UCS set and then I buy a $20 Mario set and I'm getting the same amount of points.
Yep. Well, you're not if you buy it from us because you're going to get the
You're gonna get the VI. Okay,
right.
So that's how that. But when it came up, that was kind of, was it ever on the table though? Like you get 100 if you get the UCS.
We didn't. No, because the intent is to reward you for the sets you own and not alienate a child whose parents maybe can't afford the most expensive sets, right? So like you're already giving some benefit when they buy the sets. And if you choose not to buy from the Lego group, I mean, and you choose to buy from like Amazon or something like that, you probably are buying for a different reason than you want it from us, right? And I keep saying us, even though I don't work there anymore, right? So you're gonna be hard to break the habit.
My last friend. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, but from the get go, I was like, here's how much money so I went in and asked for the money. I said, I need money to pay for every single point. This is the budget I need. And some people almost fell out of their chair when I said, like, I want money to register so many sets. But I want to reward everybody for each set that they have. And I actually didn't, and me personally, I did not care how many sets they had. If you were, there was an article that happened that was put out when I'm going to say it the European way because it's the proper way, Adidas. When they built out their program,
that's Adidas for everybody.
Yeah. So Adi Dassler, the owner of Adidas. So when they were building out their program, they started because they had heard that there was this fan who had a house filled with shoes, floor to ceiling, and they had no idea who this person was. Right? They never even knew he bought a single pair of shoes from them because he bought them everywhere else. And I said, I want to know who the biggest fan is. If somebody's going to sit there and scan 8 hours a day, all the instructions they have, I want to know who they are. Like, I want to say, oh, that's awesome. Like, you're totally into Star Wars or you're totally into Friends. I don't care. I want to reward you for that love. And then I also want to be able to talk to you and say, hey, I know you love Star Wars now. Right. And let me tell you about the cool Star Wars stuff we have coming up. So
what did it take for you to sell that in addition to those sentiments? I mean, there's some data value there.
Yeah. Well, everybody loved the idea. And everybody loved the idea that like we could, we would know people who didn't necessarily buy from us too, right? Like we could start that relationship and bring them in, right? Like that's insiders. I would say the biggest fight was when I told people I didn't want to put any limits to it. And literally people falling out of their chairs going like, what if everybody registers every set in the world? I'm like, so every single set where it is in the world. And the people who are huge fans and the people who are casual fans and everybody has a relationship with the Lego group now. Like it took some convincing, right? Because it's not like if you see a video of some guy scanning for 8 hours a day, that's not cheap, even if it's just 20 cents a piece or 20 points a piece.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make something for people who didn't necessarily buy from the League. I wanted to reach as many people as we could and bring them into the program. We
did have one come in, like I guess the target the Target relationship, the VIP program there by
So we
extension.
got Target.
Yep.
Why not Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Meijer, the big box stores kind of thing?
Yeah, so I don't know where they're at now. I mean, Target was definitely
probably.
Target is a great partner, right? Like you've seen it in how much, like they had their own clothing line in dog collars and leashes and stuff. So for us that was like, hey, let's try it out with Target and see how it works. Where they are with that, like that was, I left when that was still discussions of what's next, or what does that look like. But I have no idea what they'll do going forward. But I would say like the Target thing was one of our first tests, see how it would work. But I have no idea what's next, or if they will, or if they won't, or why they are, or why they aren't going to somebody else.
We've had a few questions on why the points are done like in the way they are instead of like straight
Oh, that's a good
translated.
one.
Is that exchange rate or?
Yeah. So it's 100% exchange rate. So one of the challenges that we had very early on when we were saying, hey, we want to make rewards, is how much are rewards, right? So if you buy $100 set in the US, you get a $5 reward. But if you buy a £100 set in the UK, you were getting a £5 reward. So how much is this?
How much yen is that?
Chain that's worth $5?
Yeah.
Like how many points is it? Right? Because the guy in the UK has got the same number of points as the guy in the US, but the guy in the UK spent 30% or 50% more. And they got the same number of points. And we already had this where in certain countries, like in Australia back then, you earned points at a different rate. It wasn't the same. It wasn't, it was 7.5 points for every $100 Australian you spent. So we already had this challenge in different countries where the points weren't the same. It just so happened to be Canadian dollars, US dollars, pounds, and euros were all the same. They were 5 for 100. So what we said is, hey, if we want it to be 1,000 points for this one item, it needs to be the same price. Everybody pays the same price. It's unfair that some people pay a lot more for that 1,000 points than others. So we said, let's benchmark it to the Danish kroner. Right. So in Denmark, you get 1 point for every kroner you spend.
There it
and
is.
The rest of the world was your conversion rates.
Oh, kidding.
And that means
the
4,000 point ticket to Legoland is 4,000 points, whether you're in China or whether you're in the US or whether you're in Denmark or wherever. It's still 4,000 points, and you're actually paying the same amount. Because you're earning based on the sets you're buying and the conversion rates. And then we said, once we do this, that's it. We keep it there. But that's the problem with the global program. I've talked to so many companies that are trying to go global programs, and there's so much complexity. And one of them is this currency conversion rate is really tough for a lot of companies to deal with.
What is your favorite one, either that did really well or you're just proud of anyway, whether it did well or not, or like that was difficult to get off the ground? It faced a lot of adversity, but you were able to get it up. Are there any like super memorable ones that you remember?
Top three.
Yeah, or whatever you want.
So I would say the first one would be one I didn't do, but I was really happy that we did it, which is the fact that we did the bat pod on day one. I was really happy about that.
Yeah.
Like we had a lot of conversations around this thing's worth a lot of money. How many points should it be? And I'm like, it should be $100 worth of points. That's how much that set. We've said the retail value on that set is, and I don't care if it's worth $1,000. I want it to be $100 worth of points. So I think that one, and a lot of people are like, "You're crazy." I'm like, nope, that's the right thing to do. We're not going to take advantage of our fans. So I really like that one. I would say, in general, and this is my personal thing, I'm really into. I like the coins. Like I like the collectible.
That's the first one that I got ever. That was my first redemption. So.
Yeah, and that was like the Millennium Falcon, where we totally underestimated the numbers, but that's another example of that. And then the other one that I was really happy with, probably, and this is going to be another one that gets people all worked up about, but the Ulysses.
Oh yeah,
that thing. the guy on my team had that idea, and he was just like he was a huge fan of space, and he's like, I want to do this as the reward. And
For the shuttle, right? Yeah.
and the fact that it went like sold out in like 1 minute or 5 minutes and crashed the entire website. He went from being incredibly happy with this thing that he worked on to like very upset how many people were so mad at that. But really, I mean, like
You
the money
rebooted the
totally
coins.
underestimated it.
The coins were different because that's a different vendor. You didn't have to stop
Yep.
lines, so you could get more coins. Like Ulysses, unfortunately, that would have been a fiasco, right? To get it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it took a long time and lots of conversations around that. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was it, and the coins also had the issue, right? Like we did a one shot of the coins. Coins were still going to take months to get new ones made, manufactured, and shipped in. At that point, we had never had rewards that had moved like that.
So he's the coin guy. Yeah, he's the coin
I
guy.
saw that when I laughed.
That's
But-
your legacy,
but-
man. You're the coin guy now. That's it.
Well, this is going to be those things, right? Like you always have these issues where you know your success is greater than you expected, and then you're fighting tooth and nail to fix it afterwards.
So
And-
give me an inverse of that if you're comfortable with it. What's one you thought would be a heater that would definitely work?
That flopped.
And it flopped hard.
Oh man.
Like where you like you lost out on the coins, and then you were like, I have that same feeling about this, and it just didn't go. Is there one?
So it's really going to be probably the brick-based stuff that's took forever to go through, right? It
Really?
sat in the reward center for a while.
Wow.
Right?
Like anything?
Like the GWQs
Yeah,
that
you
we
know,
see, like usually.
Well, you know,
like
you
this
get like
big,
some of
no.
these just it's like what they have right now. They have the Ninjago sets, right?
Yeah.
Like those
You
types
have
of
some
things
behind you. Yeah.
where they're
Or
only
the teal
rewards.
bricks or whatever, the buildable teal brick.
Yeah.
Remnant.
Perfect. The teal bricks, things like that, where we were like, we really fought to get a brick-based item, and then essentially like we're sitting on quantities for a while because we didn't go through them fast. And and that's the tough part, right? Because you go in and you really push to say, hey, I need this capacity to do this. Here's the size of my audience. Can we get it? And then you have the coins sell out in a minute, and then you have this like brick-based item that sits there, and you're like, you go all of Christmas and you haven't gone through it yet.
So
So
Russell said the Lego website crashes. Yeah.
oh, never crash.
Release
Ever.
How much chatter
Oh,
goes
man.
on about release stage? You guys like
Like,
take
oh,
bets
it's gonna
in the
crash
hallway?
again.
Like, we're gonna crash tonight, boys. I know it was never something you wished for, but like had to be.
So every time it crashes is a different reason, right? Like you never have the same reason why something crashes.
May the 4th seems to be a pretty
Yeah,
good
but
one. You mean
so
within that?
time,
Yeah,
time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not for the same reason, right? Like one might be a database issue, one might be a server issue, one might be a coding issue, one might be just we weren't ready for it. You know, I would say every single time, probably up until the last time, like me and my team were up 24 hours a day, round the clock, just ready for something to go wrong. And you always had the engineering team do that. And then all of a sudden, like something doesn't go wrong, and you're probably more shocked that it worked, right? You're like high-fiving and everything that you didn't have to wake up in the middle of the night, or get a phone call. So it's it happens, like, but once again, it's a problem with sometimes just being successful, right? Like
Murphy's Law,
you-
the whole thing.
yeah, I sat in ecom, right, running the ecom team, and I'm sitting there going like, okay, what's our projected number of people are going to show up? And we're like, oh, let's project it's going to be twice what we had last year. And then the site crashes because you got 4 times as many. And you're like, okay, so we'll do it 4 times as many. And then site crashes because you got 8 times as many. So you're always going to be challenged with that. And you have engineering teams busting their butts trying to keep this thing alive. But like when you think about this, right? Like it's Christmas, right? Like you have an entire year where nothing happens.
May the
And then you take every single person coming in at midnight, smashing the F5 key. it's really tough because you don't know what to expect. Like something new is going to happen every single time.
Gotcha. Yeah, so they prep for it. I think a lot of people think, oh, they don't prep. This is a fair
Oh,
question I'm going to ask.
there's
Though.
months of prep for
This had to
everything.
happen because, I mean, maybe it didn't. I don't know, but like the website itself, she's an old girl. Whenever was that something that's going to be? Do they feel like that's going to carry them through the next few years, or do you think this is going to be refreshed anytime soon?
That so
I know it's not
it
you.
depends
But like
what you're
around
asking, right?
You lived in there. I mean, so
No. So I mean, if you're asked, so I was there when we went from like the 2008 version of the website to the 2015 version of the website.
the
And
2015, are we? Is there talks? I mean,
so
just
the
continue to
site
optimize
is
that till it's
so I'm going to say this is pretty much every company that I
right.
know of, big company now, is they are not doing wholesale changes to their websites, right? Like that is not how you develop websites anymore, right?
Yeah.
You have teams of product engineers, you have teams of product teams that are looking at it going, I own this part of that experience, whether it's website, app, whatever, or back end, whatever. And they're looking at that and they're like, we will evolve this over time to make it better. And so the days of, hey, we're going to flip a switch and we have a new look and feel of a website are gone, right? Like that doesn't happen in most companies anymore. What you do have is, here's our new feature. Here's our new feature. Here's our new interface. Here's our new navigation. You might get a design change like the Insider's rebranding or something like that. But I would say where the back end of that website was when I left was a million miles away from where it was in 15. But it might not have looked like it. But there's wholesale changes
All behind the scenes.
all behind the scenes.
I think people
And
look at it from the aesthetic point of view and just say,
Yeah.
but I think they'd be shocked, and a lot of people would, is if you use the time machine or whatever and go back to even 3 years ago, it's done so subtly that you would be like,
yeah, you'll get slightly
the
shifts in
search-
navs
I
and
still want the search
new
to be better, no matter what they're saying. The search is awful.
Yeah, and
Suggestion, no.
search will always be one of those things too, right? Because you're also
you put Star Wars and you get whatever they want to serve you that day.
Yeah.
Hey, I just typed star in my search term,
probably the best
and
way.
then I see everything.
It's a
And then
cheat
I-
term.
Just a quick hit. Did you
A
make
cheat.
from Hoarder? Basically, did you make overs for any of the VIP stuff that was like loss, damage, whatever? Would you have a reserve of like 5-10% if?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
cool.
There's always extra for customer service.
Yeah.
To handle that stuff.
Talk a little about your experience with there. I mean, mine's always been world class. I mean, universally.
100%.
I mean, dude, like people have nitpicks. You're hearing, seeing some of them. It is what it is, and some of it's, a lot of it's very fair, and that's, but I think universally, man, like I don't know how much interaction you had with them, but I think they're outstanding. Every time I've called, I don't know if it's because they look up. I guess they do ask for my account, so maybe. But I feel like they treat everybody the same, is what I'm saying.
And they do. I mean, and that is one of the things. Like, so all of customer service is in-house customer service. So that's kind of step one, right? Like you don't outsource any of your customers. And they have multiple call centers. Everybody's also given a lot of leeway to make people's experience awesome, right? Like, first year I'm there, I'm hearing about like the kid who calls up who saved all his money for an Emerald Knight, and then we discontinue it.
Yeah.
And customer service finds him one in a warehouse somewhere, right? Like physically goes into a warehouse and fumbles through stuff trying to find it. We'll get requests for things like that. So I would say like the customer services said, like, they're being told, hey, make people's lives awesome, right? Like you are the front line, the same way as our store staff. The store staff is awesome. Like most of our store staff is great too, right? Like front lines need to make the experience awesome. And I would say like they have great leaders too, like that just know how to motivate people, and really push them to do great stuff and say, hey, you are the brand, like you are the line.
Yeah. I've had zero. I mean, nothing, and it was always. Now it probably helps that I'm in my mind, I'm calling about something pretty reasonable. If I'm going to take the time to do 15 minutes or whatever it is, like, it's going to be, it's because it's something that I feel like we could work out. I'm sure they get impossible asks, but even then, I mean, you get all kinds of people on these. By the way, I used to have our corporate was like a block away from our call center before, and we used to go and
sit in on calls and
yeah.
stuff. And
Have you ever done that? It's
oh,
wild.
Yeah, a couple of times a year, my team would go in there and do that, and just hearing the questions.
Yeah, and it's good for you to know, as a marketer too. Like, what are they talking about? What's motivating them? What about the specific thing? Even if it's unrelated to what you're specifically doing, you really can feel the pulse. It's interesting.
And I think what's really good about that too is you also hear the diversity of questions that are coming in. I mean, it's like, it's from the, hey, my order didn't show up yet, or my order's damaged, to my kid lost their favorite minifigure. Oh, what is it? I don't know. It's white and has like an orange wing on it. And they're like, okay, give me 5 minutes, and they'll go through everything and they'll be like, okay, this one, they'll actually spend the time to find out what it is that like they need to solve. It's just not like, well, if you don't have a receipt, well, I can't help you. Right. Like,
not everybody go and try to get a Cloud City Bobs. All right. It's not going to happen.
That
happens.
I've got some questions I think are pretty good.
All right, let me get some. We'll do a couple of rapid fires here, Jason, just on some, so we can get caught up a little
most of mine are rapid fire, and then I have some big ones.
Okay, cool. Social media, comms team ever say this is what we're seeing on social from fans? Can you give an example? So you said earlier they do.
100%.
So
100%. I mean, like
you do too. So like, is everyone checking the pulse, and how, like, high level, how does that flow?
Yeah, I mean, so we're checking normally, but we have really good relationships with the social media team, and they would immediately flag something if they saw it, or the community engagement team, like the AFL community engagement teams too. We had direct relationships with all of them, and they would just flag, hey, we're seeing this issue, or hey, people are loving this, or what, and knowing about it is great. Whether you can do something about it, that's a different story, right? And I think that's some of the challenges. So we definitely were keeping an eye on it and knowing what was going on. And I think everybody communicates back and forth to each other. I mean, I would say that's the thing. Like, while you work in different silos in different areas of the organization, like, everybody talks to each other, right? Like, everybody knows what's going on and talks to each other in general. So I would say, like, nothing is hidden. Or even protected to us as a team. Like, it was pretty open to what was going on. And from those teams, like, especially during holiday, we get like weekly reports of like, this is the current view of the community on coins. Were a great example. We got weekly reports on like what people were talking about on coins. What's the next step we're going to do, back and forth on those, while we tried to figure it out, worked out plans for how we manage communications, stuff like that. So it's really open.
All right, I got a question here from, I think, CPA. He is asking, yes, this is from CPA Fall. What was your favorite VIP reward, and why was it Bionicle theme?
And why wasn't it Bionicle theme?
Why was it? He's being biased. He loves Bionicle.
He's a big
Bionicle
guy.
Oh, yeah.
Also, that's coming back, right? I'm kidding.
So, my favorite VIP reward, I'm a big, like, and I know it doesn't get out to everybody, but like, and I'm biased here because I kind of pushed and had all these created, but I like the really cool sweepstakes rewards. The fact that you get like, a graded figure, or you get like signed, like, I think one of the funnier ones that I think of, and I don't know if anybody even remembers seeing it, but like, we had signed roller skates from DJ Llama that were used in the music video for video.
Ooh.
And I was just like, that's just fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just silly, but like, and I wish those were things that we give to everybody, but like, I just thought there was some really cool stuff in the sweepstakes side.
Jason, there's a comment in the chat here from Jandern saying, I have a question. What are you doing every Tuesday for the next 6 months? And when did you decide it was going to be ACOB?
That's right.
No, I mean, there's going to be so much to cover here. I mean,
There's so much
Obviously.
knowledge, not enough
Door,
time.
yeah, door would be wide open.
I've got a question from
Yeah, go ahead.
myself.
You got some of
From
yours.
myself. Although
Grab
I've
it.
got some really other good ones. Why do you think Lego has basically stopped doing castle, but they do like the icons castle stuff, and then they have Bricklink designer sets that are a castle. I mean, obviously it's a wanted
Yeah,
theme. Like why it's just a I mean, I feel like it's
I
a
don't
generic
know,
question.
right? If I was to take a guess, I would say it's probably somebody's looked at it and said, what are kids into,
Right.
right? And are there enough kids into Castle right now, or
Like my
are they
thought,
into something else? And usually that's what's going to happen, right? Like you can't do it all, right? And these
right.
things are cyclical. Kids are always going to be into city, right? Police, fire, things like that. So that's kind of always going to happen. You got Ninjago, which is amazing, amazing brand. And then you got these things that are like Pirates is another one, right? Like
Yeah.
Pirates is, we had 4 SKUs and they lasted a short period of time, but then all of a sudden you get like seeds of Pirates coming back in. I think it's really going to be about like what people into and when.
Yeah.
And if there's enough, if there's a resurgence, and especially on kids, right? Like Castle's going to be mostly for kids unless it's for fans, and if it's for
Right.
fans, then it's those sets that we've already talked about,
Mm-hmm.
right? The ones that are totally targeted towards adult fans. I think if there's a resurgence in kids that are really into Castle and knights and stuff, there'll probably be another Castle.
Yeah. Do you
Theme
think
or
that Lego's possibly like I mean over the past years, right? We've had Nexo Knights, we've had Chima, we've had like lots of little like weird IPs that are not even IPs, but like,
inside and
Lego's made these new things, right? And they're not associated to anything and they do their own thing. Dreams right now, perfect example,
Mhm.
right? Do you think that's Lego possibly trying to create their own like IP within itself and just
100%.
maybe
I mean, that's
possibly
what
trying to
Yeah.
do
any
more
company
money
would.
in a
That's what.
sense, you know?
Well, not necessarily more money, but something. Masters of the Universe, right?
Right.
That was the show was made to sell toys, right? Like the toy line was what they created, and I would say like Ninjago's the same thing, right? Like they created Ninjago and they created content around it, and they created an entire storyline, and they knocked it out of the park with that one. Um, you're always going to be looking for something that you can own, right? Because if you have to go to an IP, it's not just about like more money. Um, there's huge complexities dealing with that, right? Like everything takes longer. Like you have to go through so many more hoops. If you write your own stories, like you're in control of it, and you can make it faster. You can develop it and things like that. So I would say like,
Yeah, less red
100%.
tape. You don't every
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
by the way, and it's not every year, but I've done some licensing, whatever that term is, right? It's like whether it pops or flops. Let's say it's a 2-year, a 3-year, one wave. That's like legal fees. That's time, like you said. It's like, and then it's getting hung up because they got
And you run the risk of getting it pulled and somebody else going with
Yeah.
it, or
Hasbro outbids you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing. Like you've got, we're talking about Star Wars minifigures, but obviously there's Star Wars figures elsewhere. And so like if Lego has first right of refusal by making their own IP, um, you know,
Yep.
and I guess that also answers the question too, because again, it's not just the raw costs. I think people think about that. Like
Yeah.
when you look at the figs, man, Monkey Kid, for example,
Mhm.
good God, right? Like incredible stuff. And then we're like, we can't get dual moldies on the Star Wars. And it's like, it's just really not as straightforward as that.
Yeah.
A lot of
And it's never the reason, or it's very rarely the reason you think if something's not being done. It's never just like somebody was like, oh, that's stupid, I want to make more money.
but
Or
money is
yeah.
big. Money is involved in it though, a lot, as far as it
Well,
has to be. It is a business.
so
Like all this.
especially 100%, but especially when you talk about IPs, right?
Oh,
Because
for
like
sure. People
like
don't get it. Like, do
yeah.
you think like Lego? Can you answer this? Do you think Lego enjoys charging 90 when a set of similar quality, whatever you want to call it, piece count amount of figs is 60 with another theme. Do you think
Enjoy? Absolutely not.
right? They'd rather do
Right.
it for 60 because
Yeah,
they'd
I
sell
mean,
more volume. But they've signed a deal and it keeps renewing. I'm sorry, I'm assuming a lot here, but Star Wars is like, you want to renew for another 3? That percentage just went up to 15% on the set, whatever.
And I don't know the licensing deals, but like,
and I don't either. Well, I do.
Yeah,
I don't know the specifics of yours.
Yeah.
I know how they work. Yeah.
Yep. But what I would say is, like, you know, as people who work there are also fans for the most part, right? They also know these prices. Like, they also know what it feels like if I want this set and it's going to cost a bunch of money. Even with an employee discount, it's, you know, maybe stretches your money further, but you'd rather have the set for 20% less, right? Nobody's sitting there going, hey, I want to jack up this price. There's a million reasons why the price might go higher over time, and it could be material costs, it could be labor costs, it could be IP costs, it could be, you know, safety issues, it could be, you know, complexity. It could be, there's a million reasons why the prices change. Nobody's like, you know what? It would just be so cool if we doubled the price of the set. Like, nobody literally saying that, right? They're saying like, oh my God, if I double the price of the set I wanted, what's it going to mean? Or, I have to fit within a price point, so what do I have to take away?
This is a direct, I've never seen a more on the spot VIP related question, but can we put pupils back in Star Wars figures' eyes?
Can we what?
Put pupils back in Star Wars figures' eyes.
Put pupils back in the figures' eyes. Everybody they're asking you, which, by the way, Jace, thank you for being so open about stuff outside of your immediate area. It's all fascinating, by the way. So, and there has been some stuff where, like, well, we'll throw it out there. Maybe you know something about it. So that's great. Wait, Justin Keller, this is great stuff. Can we get more likes for the stream? What are we sitting at, boys? We got 140 of you in there.
I think there's 76 likes.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna wrap it up if we don't get to a hunch here in another. Jason's gonna start withholding information, guys, and we don't want that. So we're gonna need.
So what did you want to know about Friends?
Okay, here we go. We're gonna go deep on Friends. If you guys get another
Friends, we all want to know about this.
Mini dolls.
Speaking of a weird thing, or not weird thing, but
Friends had some heater sets the last few years, no doubt.
The parts and pieces in Friends sets, I think, are way better than the actual, like, I don't care about the set, but the parts and pieces are not bad, honestly. Question from Jandern. He's asking, how much thought is given to resellers? This applies directly to me because I'm, a sort of reseller.
Yeah, it's a great question.
How much thought is given to resellers, and is there any effort to hinder them by Lego, specifically as it releases or as it relates to GWPs and how they're limited to, a certain amount and everything like that? But also, like, Lego, recently procured Bricklink and everything like that. Are we going to see any developments with hindrance of resellers, and in that case, maybe too?
I don't know. Like I know we ages ago were talking about resellers, and the challenge with resellers was never people reselling. It was the people who would buy the full inventory ahead of Christmas and then start jacking up prices. Like, those were conversations we had, right? Because once again, at our core is kids, right? Like, we want kids to fall in love with the brand, and then they will become adults who love the brand. But, like, you have to have kids coming in, right? And I remember when I first started, there was a lot of resellers who were coming in, snatching up inventory, doubling the price ahead of Christmas, and then abusing the return policy to return unsold inventory.
Wow.
Okay. And I remember that happening. And we were like, what do you do about this? Like, there's two ways to do it. You could change your return policy, which stinks for everybody, right? Or you could limit the quantities, or you could ban resale. Like, there's things you could do to do this. Or you could just make a ton more inventory, and then you have too much inventory. And you're always so do you think about resellers? Everybody thinks about resellers. Doesn't matter what company you're with.
Right.
I
think those are mainly scalpers than they are resellers. Those ones.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like, they're the bad apple side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Bad reseller. Yeah. If some people. Yeah.
Yep.
So
but I would say, like, people's views on resellers, like, some people are like, well, we need to stop it. and usually the stopping, the rationale was specifically because of the scalpers.
So this
Nobody
is on
cares.
it's
Like
it's on the release
if you
current stuff. So okay, so that makes sense. I think when people hear scalper, which because there is a difference between that and a reseller. And I apologize anyone who's sensitive about that particular that term being used there. I apologize. But we have to delineate between what a reseller is, which is what Fritz is, versus someone who buys something that's in limited quantities and is taking advantage via the holidays or whatever limited supply and marking it up to a very high degree, versus you've heard this investors thing. There's a lot of investors there.
A lot.
Tons of investors. I mean, you see there's
especially since since COVID.
Yeah. A lot of channels. You're very aware of that. What is the general temperature on just like wholesome investors that are just like, before it retires, everybody's had their chance, but before it retires, I'm going to sock away a couple modulars because I know they're going to 2x. Is everybody cool with that?
I've never heard anybody having an issue with that.
But do they, I don't talk about it in a positive way? Maybe like we know that these things can appreciate. Is that ever?
So I think it depends on who you're talking to, right? So there's either we know they exist and we're in whatever, and they don't have a view on it, and they are like, cool, they're buying sets, like great. Or there's like the community team, which is like, these people are awesome, right? These are our diehard fans, and they're building collections that are massive and great. They buy 3 of everything, and yeah, I'm one of those people. I used to buy 3 of everything, right? So, I think it depends on who you're asking. But I would say, like, there's not like a wholesale thing behind the scenes where they're like, we need to stop resellers. There's nobody doing it, right? Like, there's no reason for that. Scalpers, yes. People who are selling like off brands or stuff like that, there's views on that. But like in general, no.
Like the counterfeit stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of counterfeit, I'm going to pop in here for a second.
I put research into this specifically because here's another take on some of this. When it comes, and again, this one's going to be out of your area. I apologize, but maybe you heard something around the old cooler. When they're talking about something to put out again, because you guys own Bricklink now, and everyone is aware that these things can and do usually have value higher than MSRP post-retirement, depending on what it is, not always. If there's something out there that's trading for $700 that you guys could make again for $150, like, does that ever come out, or is there ever any talk of like, we shouldn't do that because then that's going to prevent people from going heavy on it because we re-released it? I guess talk to me about like re-releasing stuff that worked before.
So that really sit in PMD and all of their work, and them trying to figure out what the assortment looks like.
Yeah.
They'll be, it depends, right? Like,
can't do it just because it's expensive. Something has to be happening culturally to tie in. Maybe look for the right time.
Like, I'll say this: like, the re-release of the Millennium Falcon is a great example of that, right? So, like, I own, and it's like sitting right above me, it's like in my office, first edition Millennium Falcon 10179, right? Like that.
Congratulations.
That's like my pride and joy. It's graded. It sits there because I'm afraid of building it, right? So I was the person who, like, that thing went down $10,000 in value overnight.
Yeah.
Right. But I love the fact that there was another Millennium Falcon that I could build. I love the fact that I was able to get one for my nephew. Right. Like,
because you weren't buying another at your price. Right.
Right. So like I'm okay with that. I would say, like, I feel bad for anybody who couldn't get the UCS Millennium Falcon until we had the new one out, right? So it's probably looking at what do people really want, and if there's a re-release, there's always something usually different about it. It's not exactly the same.
Correct.
Because they want to build it, new figures, new designs, whatever. It could be a million things, but like, there's probably a million reasons going into why they're doing that. There's probably is somebody sitting in that room who's saying, hey, our fans are this will kill the
This
value.
thing's going
There's
for.
probably
There's a
right, but
rumor. There's
yeah.
a rumor that another Black Pearl's coming. I think they're keenly aware that it's $700-800 or $1,000 or whatever it is for it sealed right now. Like somebody has to know, especially.
So somebody's
they
saying
are aware of it. Yeah,
somebody's aware, but what I'm going to say is nobody's sitting in that room saying we should do a Black Pearl to devalue the old one.
No. I'm saying
they're
they
probably
should say,
sitting in that room saying, "Hey, there's a movie coming out."
but
And
no, not to devalue it, but to have confidence in that it'll deliver
it would
at
sell.
at
It
the
would do good.
register is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would base it on, hey guys, we haven't released this in whatever it's been.
100%.
Well, I mean, like the Death Star is coming out, $1,000.
They see it's no coincidence that the one that retired a few years ago is
They're not remaking the Death Star in a
$1,200.
movie.
It's $1,200 now. Like they I think that I'm not saying that's everything because we've discussed it. It's never one thing to make a set. It's never one thing to kill a set. It's 100 things. I'm just saying I've always felt like if it's not, it should be on that list. Like, hey man, there's people that would die to have another one of these. Let's make it.
Oh, there's people. I mean, there's going to be people saying that, right? Like we need
For a lot
another
of
one,
sets too.
right? And what you'll probably have when it comes to like a price or something like that, you'll probably have somebody going, well, we can make this awesome for this price, or we can make it okay for this price. If we make it awesome, is there enough people who buy it? And I would guarantee you there's somebody coming in saying there's people buying it left and right at this price, at $1,000. So make it awesome.
By the
Right.
way, this feedback from the chat, and I know I'm showing some of your comments a little bit less tonight because I'm so zeroed in on this. Dude, Jason, everybody's having like a blast with this. This has been like phenomenal. So just know you are appreciated, and especially that you're going outside of, like I said, your exact area to answer best you can with what you did hear around, like I said, the old water cooler on some of this stuff, because this is stuff like that people. There's been a lot of rumor and innuendo about a lot of this stuff for a long time. So we sincerely appreciate you sort of clearing some of that up. Fritz, you got another one, bud?
Jason, well, this is a question just for Jason, based on the show and everything like that. Have you enjoyed hanging out with us, chatting with us, maybe seen some of the comments and the questions?
Yeah, so I'm really bad at like multitasking, so I haven't really focusing on you guys and whatever questions you throw out here, but I'll end up going through that. But yeah, I mean, it's all the stuff that like it's I enjoy talking about this stuff because I think as a fan, this is the stuff I would want to know, and it's actually stuff that's all out there. It's all out there in little bits and pieces, and you probably often don't get a chance to talk to somebody because as an employee of the company, we're not necessarily allowed to go out there and speak in front of people,
Especially
and it's
while
like
you're there.
yeah,
Right.
and there's like very strict like press credentials and stuff like that you need to deal with, and going through different sources and stuff. But like none of this, I don't think there's anything I really said today that hasn't been said in public somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to get it all in one shot.
All right. So I've got two questions because I know Sean's probably getting ready to wrap up. It's 8:15 my time, and it's already 11:14 his time. And this is a thought. How many likes is it going to take on this video before the stream ends for you to come back?
You guys got to tell me the number.
Yeah, we got. It's like I don't know.
I mean, let's see. Like,
5
how many
million.
likes do you think we should take? Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
Well, we're at 106 right now. It was a good run.
Let me see. What is it? A 106?
We're at 106. I think 150 is doable. We get 150 and like before midnight, West Coast time.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely
I'd
have
be open to it.
replay gang. People are having dinner right now. We do a nice replay business around here.
We have 142 people in the show right now.
Oh, well, that's upsetting. All right.
So
people are winding out. Look, people are fleeing because we're asking them to like this show. Is it that
my
much?
last question? I mean, I have lots of questions. I'm not gonna lie, just like everyone else has. I've got like my notes open on my computer of all the ones I haven't asked yet and all the ones I have asked. CPA alone has like 12. But anyways, my question, and they keep on poking it a little bit, and you've actually kind of talked about it with me on the side a little bit and some other people. But people want to know about the Mexico factory a little bit, right? And maybe you don't want to go too much in depth in it, and we can move it to like another show or another episode. But maybe just touch the table a little bit of like what's going on with Mexico and the factory leaks and everything like that.
Yeah.
Not too much.
So I don't know exactly what's going on in Mexico, right? So, you hear stories, you see stuff. What I would say is, and this comes down to like, the prototypes or figures and things like that.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that they're real Lego products, they're not. Right? Like let's just be clear. Like, if it's made in a ghost shift or stolen or whatever, it's not part of the assortment. Like, there are not a billion prototypes of people doing test pulls
Right.
of Vader in pink, right? Like,
Yeah.
nobody's doing
no.
that, right? Right.
And if they were,
Whether-
and Lego was doing it, they were probably supposed to be destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
And there wouldn't be 20,000 of them, is Jason's other point. Like, if there was one pink Vader, there'd be one or two pink Vaders. There wouldn't be. Is that what?
If you had,
maybe a couple.
if you happened to put the mold on that machine and it still had pink in it while you ran it through and see what happened.
Well, yeah, we all know
back in the day, wasn't red like a very iconic, like an all dark, or like a
it was
red
the
color,
standard
like Vader or whatever. You know,
it was our standard
testing.
red. Would go through machines sometimes, but like, that's on the molding team. They got all their processes and stuff like that. Let's be blunt. Like, these are, if they're coming out of the ghost shift, they're stolen figures, and they're not official because they're not part of the assortment, right?
Now, what about alignment figures? I've seen some of those here and there. Not very often. Very few. Very rare ever come out. But
none of those should be coming out, right? So, like, years ago, I did a personal factory tour, right, and got all the stories, and it was the most incredible time and everything. And they showed me like all the sprues coming off of the bricks and coming off the machines, and they had a big Gaylord, so 4x4x4 cardboard box full of the sprues, and it had things like that, right? Like wrong colors going through figures or stuff like that, or pieces. And I was like, "Ooh, can I get one of these, like, for my collection?" The guy's like, "Absolutely not." Like, those do not leave here. Like, no. and I was like, oh, I thought it was a pretty innocent ask. And so if something's coming out and it's an alignment fig or this or that, like, it's not supposed to be coming out.
But that stuff is from Lego, right?
Stuff,
like that, like the monochrome stuff and the alignment figures, they're from Lego. They're not procured the right way. They're not released. They're stolen.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about people selling them though? I don't really sell them. It's not my thing. I don't care for the Mexico figure stuff, as I'm a seller and whatnot, as everyone knows. But what do you think about it? Because I'm sure you've heard of whatnot in that space.
Yeah. So me personally, I'm torn. Right. So I, as a fan, I think having a pink Darth Vader is cool. Right. Like, as a fan, I get it.
Company man.
Right.
No.
Like, selling stolen goods, like, that, like, I want the figure. I don't like the figure. Right? I don't like how it's procured. Right. And
yeah, he said he doesn't know how it goes down, but I mean, you guys can use your imagination. I mean, Jandern just had, like, people just do it purposefully. Is it outsourced? That kind of stuff. I mean, there's going to be leaks in production. That's something every company finds.
Yeah. I mean, we're like, as a company, they're not outsourcing anything. Right. So it's not like, so this is how, when this happens, it's either coming out of a factory in Mexico or it's a straight up copycat. Right.
And this factory in Mexico is not, sorry, this isn't a third party. This is owned by Lego.
No. And it might not just be Mexico, right? Like, you got factories in China, you got Czech Republic, like there's factories across the globe, and they're all owned, right? And part of this, my guess is part of this is why everything went in-house, right? It was probably quality control. It was probably making sure the IP doesn't happen. Yep, Virginia's being built out. So everything's made in Lego owned factories. So if it's got a Lego logo on it, it's either made there on a ghost shift or something like that, or it's stolen out of a test print or something like that. Or, and this happens less likely nowadays, it's somebody actually manufacturing a fake item. Right. Like like the copycats that were coming out of China and stuff like that. Like, but most of them took the logos off of stuff. They might have had logos early on, but it wasn't worth their time doing it. Right. So
There you go.
There's a question that Jandron had asked earlier. Does Lego own the factory? Which you answered they do.
I just
Yep.
referenced Chandler. Yeah. on that
Yep.
one. Cool.
And have you ever seen him ever be given as gifts or anything like that, or heard of, or any like other employees in corporate ever seeing that or having a monochrome minifigure or anything like that here or there?
not internally. No. Like
We have people in the chat. Jason Goat, he's eyeballing his pink Vader off to the left of the screen. They're just messing with it.
Like I have some, I just think they're cool, and I get them in collections here and there because like I buy people's entire collections and I get monochromes ever so often. I'm like, well,
if you could authenticate
sell it
that
as something.
somehow, that would be interesting. Like I get what Jay said. Like as a collector, it's cool to see rarities, regardless of how they got to market and all that stuff. Like it's cool to see, just like anybody.
But I mean, if it's not in the part list, right? Like if you want to know if it's real, go to Bricklink.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now how much
you are taking a risk on anything else? Yeah.
How much does Lego outsource of like parts and pieces? Like I know back in the day it used to be capes, right? And now they're starting to do capes and wastegapes on their own. What are there lots of little parts and pieces like that where Lego, doesn't do? They outsource it still, or like printing?
I'm really I don't know, right? Like I know the whole push was like get everything in internally, right? Like build out more capabilities within our own factories versus outsourcing it.
Because when you're at that scale, you can do those things, and it speeds everything up. It's more efficient. You're that cape coming from the outside could delay an entire pallets of product going out. You know what I mean? Like,
and the other thing is
same pallets of product, cargo ships going.
And with that, you also have like if you want to maintain quality, like it's easier when it's in your own factory. It'll always be easier if it's in your own factory. Right? Because now you have to do more tests, you have to do more inspections and things like that. So, and then it's also like I remember this like years ago, I think it was Bionicle. I think the re-release of Bionicle got leaked because somebody it was outsourced printed materials, right? And it was just like it was a Bionicle fan working on the production line of the print house. It's like, oh my god, Bionicle. So
mentioned he's the biggest Bionicle fan. So anything he's like eyeballs. What was that?
So he probably knows that from like it was a leaked POS piece, which was which announced Bionicle before we as a company had a chance to.
That's some deep lore there. Favorite theme? Did you say earlier Star Wars, or what is your favorite theme, or a couple of themes?
Yeah, I mean Star Wars. I do like some of the more not obscure, but like I like Space Police, I like Mars Mission. Star Wars probably the one that I have the most of, but like my collection of vintage stuff is just like that's growing, right? Like I love the typewriter, I love the radio, I love the Atari, like kind of stuff that's all like related to me. I'm almost 50 years old, so like
are you a Star Trek guy too?
I am a Star Trek guy.
So would you be exciting if we don't know anything, but if there was to be an Enterprise, you would be a day one buyer of
I saw leaks of that. I saw leaks that's coming out. I don't know for sure, but sounds pretty good. Like I would be a day one buyer if that came out.
Well, we have a guest caller. No, I'm kidding. We had a guy call in last week and just go off on how much better Star Trek is than Star Wars. It's the tale as old as time, Jason. You've been hearing it your whole life. There's been.
I grew up with a father who loved both, so I've loved both, and I'm okay with either of them. I
thought the sail barge was the greatest and most important set of our lives. Do you agree with that? The latest sail barge? I'm just kidding, man.
But I don't have the sail barge. I do not have the sail barge. I have the original sail barge. I was a completionist on a lot of the Star Wars UCS sets, and then I ran out of room, right? And I just stopped trying. Like I don't have the room for it.
I ran out of room too.
We could do this forever. One more, I swear, because this one came up a lot, and then we're done. I swear, Jason, because it's just too fascinating. This one came up a lot. Why the heck? He's putting it nicely, but people want to know why the heck can't you get more than one reward per purchase. Like, was there strategy behind that? Come on, man. It had to prompt additional orders. What was the story behind, I've got 3 in the chamber and I got to make 3 separate orders? I remember that with the coins.
Yep. So this one I'll share.
You know everything about this one.
It's not strategy. It's technical.
Really?
So and it's one of those things that we were saying, like, how do we fix it?
Promo code. It could only accept one promo code. Was that kind of the?
Okay. Yeah. So and I'll share this, like, and I guess it's a little bit behind the scenes, but like the people who are most upset by this, are the employees, because Lego Group employees can only use one code, and it's either their employee code or a reward.
Oh,
yeah. So there's a lot of people who are like, I want all the coins, and I have to make 5 orders and can't even use my employee discount
price orders, right?
Yeah.
FPJ. Wow.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that we were really like saying, like, how can we fix this? And what I will say is, like, I said it at the beginning, right? Like, there's always a reason, right? There's nobody sitting there going, and very, very rarely is the reason, hey, we can make an extra buck if we do it this way.
I think they like somebody like getting 3 orders though, Jason. Somebody.
So
Daniel Smith,
I'll throw something out there. I'll throw something out there.
You were the head of ecom. You wouldn't have liked 3. Although I will say 3 cheap orders, and I do actually. You could have insight on this. 3. Okay. What is it? 35 to hit the minimum. Yep. That's not always great for Lego. You're kind of losing on those lower orders. That's pretty break even.
No, like, why would I want somebody to buy a brick separator? Right? For me to pick a brick separator, or worse yet, why would I want somebody to do a pick a brick order that has to come in a separate box? So now I'm picking 2 orders, and I'm only charging you shipping once, right? Like, it is not advantageous to have somebody make 3 orders. If they were going to make 3 orders, and they were, or if we were already, they were already going to hit the threshold, right? Like, you wanted 3 sail barges, right? You're going to buy 3 sail barges anyhow, so 3
Everyone
orders
should, by the way, including you.
You know, but I think, like, there was never a discussion where we were like, we can get 3 orders if we do it this way. Like, the discussion was always like, how can we get them their rewards, because they've already paid for the, right? Like it's your points, like same thing, right? Like, we didn't make you make 3 orders to use, $5 off 3 times to use your $15. The $15 you can take it off of 1 order, right? So
everyone's shouting you out if this was something you got done, which I imagine it probably took months and months, if not longer, to implement. Everybody's saying thank you so much for being able to figure out the dollar amount with the slider now, because that 5, 10 coupon.
It wasn't me. But I would say, like, that is okay. Well, I'll take it. But that is going back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, when are we going to change the website? That's a perfect example. Somebody has the job of, how do we make it easier for somebody to redeem their points? Yeah. And their whole focus will be, make it easier. How do we make it more visual? How do we tell them what they're going to get? Right. So, and that's the adjustment you'll get. You'll get.
Do you have a lot of reversals on the online in-store thing? Because that happened to me once. I got there and I was ready to use them. They go, "Oh no, sir, you picked for online." Do you know what I'm talking about? You had to choose.
Oh yeah.
And they actually said, "Do you have more?" I was like, "Yeah." They go, "Cash those out, call service, and I swear they'll put them back." And they did, and it was phenomenal, because I was like, "Man, I don't want to order. I'm at the store right now."
But like, there was a guy I worked with who was a product manager who said, like, what you'll often see in issues with companies is you're seeing the internal processes being, brought forward. And I think that's a perfect example, right? Is we have one system in stores, one system online. They weren't necessarily talking to each other. So, like, you did one thing and now you had to reverse it, right? But now
it's the whole
now it's omnichannel, right? Like, now you're in store and they're using their mobile POS, and you can redeem your points either way, and it doesn't matter. And that's something we would all have loved from day one. But, like, you have technology restrictions on that. So that's why I keep saying, like, nobody's sitting there like
Gotcha.
Like
There's no
money bags
devil.
swimming through coins, like
Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck going, and if we do this, we're gonna get them.
There's
Right?
not as many gotchas out there, guys. I think that's
Yeah.
tonight's takeaway, Fritz. There's not so many gotchas out there.
Yeah. What you definitely will see is, hey, can we make something awesome that people will buy and love our brand more, so they'll do it again, right? And that's every single thing is about that, right? Like nobody will trade off $1 in making somebody mad or making somebody love it and then buy a set for everybody in their entire family. The people who spend
Right.
the most on Lego are people who love Lego themselves and they buy it for everybody else they love.
Yeah, just spread it. And they're
And-
just like, hey, everyone get it.
Yeah, and that is the ultimate goal, right? Like if you want to, if the best is, if the best is never good enough, or only the best is good enough, the best is somebody loves the brand and keeps buying it, right? Because they love it. And it's never going to be about the best is, can we make an extra $1? Make them love it more and the money will come.
There you go.
Right.
Surprise and
That's
delight.
how
We
most
talked
companies
about it.
should be.
Talk about it. Surprise and delight. I think people. It is. There's just so much red tape, and in an org that big, it's just got to be tough to do like any little thing, like every single. Let's table some of this for next time because I'd love to hear. Like
I've got more questions.
No, I know, but we got to be
Next
respectful
time.
of everyone's
We got to
time.
hit 150 likes. We're not there
We
yet.
will.
Sorry.
Well, no, I think everybody's fired up, and once this gets out there and people see the, I think phenomenal discussion we were able to have with Jason tonight. We're gonna have a lot of people tuning in for round 2. Real quick, got a really nice super chat from Cinemolecular Films, $20. Says I'm not above a bribe, by the way, so I'm not sure what part of the conversation he was referring to.
What did we miss?
He did say dealer's choice in the song we're going to play. So, since Jason's a Star Wars fan and we brought up the sail barge, Jason, this is a GWP or even a reward we would have loved to have seen at some point. We would love to see a human Jabba figure. It's kind of a deep cut.
Yep.
We made it a super chat song dedicated. Enjoy.
There was a chubby gangster on Tatooine who only appeared in a deleted scene. He wasn't a slug, but he was fat like Newman. His name was Jabba, and he was human. We all want human Jabba, and we all need human Jabba. Jabba gave us that human form. It was way before he had a barge, had a black vest, and he was large. Maybe wouldn't have choked him out. You know the words everybody shout. We all want human Jabba, and we all need human Jabba. Jabba gave us that human form.
That was human Jabba. And if you're wondering what we edited out there, Jason, the bleep was it said slave Leia, but we can't say that anymore. So out of respect, we beep. People have asked me, what was the beep? So that's why I say maybe Leia would have choked because But hey, we got her back this year. That was nice. They threw shorts on her, but that was a victory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gym shorts.
Dude, you talk about these things that are just woven into the fabric of the discussion is like, we're never seeing Slave Leia again. Even if they don't call her that, we're never seeing it. I bet there was a war on getting that done, but they did. So shout out. Take the shorts.
So, I will say one last thing.
Yeah.
Me for the changing it to the name of Slave One.
Yes.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Like he's not a slave. That is him taking back his power, right? Yeah. And naming the ship because of his background, not because he wasn't trading anybody.
About the Boba ship. Yeah.
And the fact that they moved it to Boba's starship.
You understand it? I was like, in the world we're in now. I think we all understood it, but you got to take shots. We were like, well, they're not going to call Leia that.
Yeah. Yep.
So. All right, man. Well, good stuff. What a ride. Let me get this going. Whew. I want to thank our very special guest, Jason Whiting, for joining us and sharing so much that we've all been dying to know about VIP, Insider, and so much more. Fritz, thank you, sir, for I'm sure putting in a full day and then joining us here on ACOB. It is 11:30. I have 5,000 things to do tomorrow, but I could have done it till 2 a.m. You know what I mean?
Gotta drop. I just launched a YouTube video. You guys want to check it out?
Check out Fritz's other side, Fritz's latest video. And
Yeah.
shout out to the chat. You guys are phenomenal. We'll see you right here on Thursday. Peace.
Peace out. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.